Project K, Math 122. Again, the expectation, we've gone through a tremendous amount of material already, that you're getting more comfortable using the application SAGE, all right? By the way, SAGE is an abbreviation for Sage Math, but most people just simply say SAGE now. And SAGE again, is a way to say, in abbreviated form, the actual application, which is Sage Math. All right, so this is about, finding area of this guy over here. Again, my goal over here is that this is a typical Math 122 question. And, the bottom line is getting a graph of it. And I want to point out what I mean by that. Getting a graph of this thing over here is really important in the shaded area over here. So yeah, you say, how did I construct this graph? I didn't use Sage to do it. I actually used Grapher to do it. I find it easier to use Grapher. Again, having multiple tools at your disposal is a good thing, all right? But I want to go through the integration. And I got to be honest with you, for a lot of students, the big problem is the limits of integration, right? The limits. But again, looking at it, if I start at 0, I would get r to be 3. That's right over here. Now let's keep going. And then what I'm going to do, and if you notice this r, again, if I'm at 0, it would be 3. And then it's going to start to shrink down towards 0 as I go through theta. And if I get to 3, which is roughly pi, we'll be back to 0. I want to point out what I mean by that. At 0, the angle 0, the radius is 3. At the angle 3, which is over here somewhere, the radius would be 0. And the thing sweeps out an arc that looks like this over here. And this is the area they're talking about. So setting up the limits of integration, fairly easy. And doing the integration, also fairly easy. All right? Now, certainly, I'm going to type it in for you. And what I mean by that, I'm going to go to my Sage instant. Let me clear this out. I was doing something before. And I think I'm getting a little better at doing this. So reset. I think I can start doing this. But again, I make mistakes. Let's see. I'm going to define a function. Not a function, but a variable theta. Now, theta. I'm going to say that's a variable. And this is a variable that in mathematics, we wouldn't write the word down. We write the symbol down. But you know what? I'm just going to put this in and call theta now, in quotes, a variable. And I'm going to say, r is a function of theta. R is a function of theta. And what is that function? Well, it looks like 3 minus theta, theta. All right, hit return. And you could evaluate r at 0. It should be 3, right? And you should evaluate r at 3. We've done that before. We've talked about it. And that should be 0. That's not a big issue for me. What do I want to do with the integration? And again, this is when you're dealing with this types of integration. If you're getting this, it's an arc. And you learned about how to get the area of an arc in Math 120. And this is just extending that concept to Math 122 now. So let's try to integrate. And again, I'm not looking at my code. It's blurry behind me. I know that. But we'll look at the code later. And what do I want to integrate? I want to integrate. What do I want to integrate? Well, let's take a look at it. And I'm going to type in 1 divided by 2 star. And I'm going to type in what I see over there. But there's other ways of doing it. For example, 3 minus theta, I could also type in r theta. I'm going to square that. And I want to integrate this thing with respect to theta on the interval from 0 to 3. Now remember, I know I say a lot to you, if you make a mistake, it's not going to explode. All right, you'll just know you made a mistake. What do I get? Exactly expected 9/2. Let's take a look at the code, see how we did. And again, I'm learning, reset I did the theta part, I did the r theta part. You know what, I didn't do polar plot, let me do that. Whoops, sorry about that. And again, nice looking graph over there, all right? Very nice looking graph. Again, you may want to play around with this, and instead of going to pi, I'll go to 3. Getting this over here. If I want to do, instead of 3, I want to do 2.5. I think you're getting the idea what's happening over here, and you can play around with this as much as you want. Like, for example, I want to just do another plot, and let's do something outrageous. Let's go to 10, see what happens. And I'm seeing something. You keep playing around with this thing. Let me go to 100. And again, playing with software, well, that's pretty crazy looking, isn't it? Let me just say that's a little bit too crazy for me. Let me go to 25 instead, see what we get over there. Whoops. Forgot to close out with a parentheses. Something a little bit more reasonable to me. All right, something a little more reasonable. All right, let me close these things out. And again, a good recommendation for a learning software is to play around with software. It's really easy to play around with software. You learn a lot from playing around with software. And again, if you're going into a STEM-related career, my recommendation is to play around with software. But I think I did everything necessary. This is kind of a short project. Yeah, I can integrate. I could integrate that by hand, by the way. I don't think I would have wanted Sage to do that. But it's important you start to learn little tiny grains. And these grains will, before you know it, it'll become an entire meal. Thank you.